You may feel constantly tired, swollen, tense, or emotionally reactive, even on days when nothing dramatic is happening. Your body feels inflamed, your sleep feels light, and stress seems to linger no matter how hard you try to relax. Many women between 30 and 45 assume this is just a busy season of life or something they need to push through. Very often, it's hormonal. Two powerful stress hormones, cortisol and aldosterone, quietly control how your body manages energy, fluid, blood pressure, inflammation, and emotional response. After 30, hormonal shifts, chronic stress, and poor recovery make these hormones more reactive and harder to regulate. In this video, you'll learn how cortisol and aldosterone influence far more than stress alone, why women are especially affected after 30, and what simple, hormone-friendly habits help restore balance. Cortisol, the stress hormone that rewrites your body's priorities. When your body feels stuck in alert mode, you may feel tense even when nothing is wrong. Relaxing feels difficult, sleep feels light. Small stressors trigger big reactions. This constant sense of being on edge is exhausting, and for many women after 30, it's driven by cortisol, the hormone that decides what your body treats as urgent. Cortisol is your body's primary stress hormone. Its role is protective. When your brain senses a threat, physical, emotional, or mental, cortisol is released to help you respond. It raises blood sugar for quick energy, sharpens focus, and temporarily pauses non-essential processes like digestion and repair. In short bursts, cortisol is helpful. The problem begins when stress is no longer short-lived. Why cortisol stays elevated after 30. After 30, several changes make cortisol harder to regulate. Hormones like estrogen and progesterone, which normally help buffer stress, begin fluctuating. At the same time, life stress often increases, work demands, emotional labor, mental load, and reduced recovery time. Sleep quality also declines for many women in this phase. Poor sleep keeps cortisol elevated the next day, creating a cycle where the body never fully returns to baseline. Cortisol stays on even when danger is gone. How chronic cortisol changes body priorities. When cortisol remains high, your body shifts into long-term survival mode. In this state, the body prioritizes energy storage instead of energy release, alertness over calm, short-term coping over long-term repair. This is why cortisol affects far more than stress. It influences metabolism, fat storage, immune response, digestion, mood, and sleep patterns. For women, high cortisol often pushes fat storage toward the abdomen because belly fat has more cortisol receptors. This isn't a failure, it's a biological response to perceived demand. Symptoms women commonly feel. When cortisol stays elevated, women often experience persistent fatigue despite rest, difficulty relaxing or switching off, light or restless sleep, anxiety or emotional reactivity, belly weight gain, sugar or caffeine cravings, feeling wired but exhausted. These symptoms can appear even when blood tests look normal, which makes them confusing and frustrating. Why cortisol is often misunderstood. Cortisol problems are rarely dramatic. They build quietly. Many women are told their symptoms are due to stress, aging, or lifestyle, without understanding that cortisol is actively shaping how the body functions day to day. Because cortisol follows daily rhythms, single lab tests often miss chronic dysregulation. The body can look normal on paper while functioning in survival mode internally. Doctor-approved ways to support cortisol naturally. Supporting cortisol isn't about eliminating stress, it's about improving recovery and rhythm. Helpful support includes consistent sleep and wake times, eating regular balanced meals to stabilize blood sugar, gentle movement instead of exhaustive exercise, short breaks during the day to reset the nervous system, reducing late-night stimulation. These habits tell the body that the environment is safer, allowing cortisol levels to settle. Cortisol doesn't just respond to stress, It decides what your body prioritizes. After 30, hormonal shifts, poor sleep, and chronic pressure can keep cortisol elevated, pushing the body into survival mode. When cortisol is supported through rhythm, nourishment, and recovery, the body begins shifting from constant alertness back toward balance and repair. Aldosterone, the hidden stress hormone, affecting water, bloating, and blood pressure. When your body feels puffy, heavy, or tight for no clear reason, you may notice swelling in your hands, ankles, or face. Rings feel tight. Your body feels heavier by the end of the day, even when eating habits haven't changed. These symptoms are often blamed on salt, hormones in general, or just water weight. Very often, the real driver is aldosterone, a stress hormone most women have never been taught about. Aldosterone is a hormone released by the adrenal glands. Its main job is to regulate fluid balance, sodium levels, and blood pressure. It tells your kidneys how much water and sodium to hold onto or release. When aldosterone is working properly, fluids stay balanced, blood pressure remains stable, and tissues don't retain excess water. But when aldosterone becomes overactive, the body holds on to sodium and water, leading to swelling, bloating, pressure, and heaviness. Aldosterone is not a bad hormone. Like cortisol, it's protective when activated briefly. Problems arise when it stays elevated too often. Why aldosterone becomes overactive under stress. Aldosterone is closely tied to the body's stress response. When stress is perceived, physical, emotional, or mental, aldosterone rises to help maintain blood pressure and circulation. After 30, chronic stress becomes more common and recovery becomes less efficient. This causes aldosterone to stay elevated longer than it should. The body begins acting as if it needs to conserve fluid and sodium continuously, even when it doesn't. This is why stress can cause swelling without any obvious dietary trigger. The cortisol-aldosterone connection. Cortisol and aldosterone don't work separately. They are part of the same adrenal system. When cortisol stays high, it signals ongoing demand. Aldosterone responds by helping the body maintain volume and pressure to support that demand. In simple terms, cortisol says, stay alert. Aldosterone says, hold resources. Together, they encourage the body to retain water, increase pressure, and stay in a guarded state. This pairing is especially active during chronic stress, poor sleep, or dehydration. Why women, 30 to 45, feel this more strongly. Hormonal shifts in estrogen affect how blood vessels respond to fluid and pressure. As estrogen fluctuates after 30, aldosterone's effects become more noticeable. At the same time, busy lifestyles, irregular hydration, and inconsistent meals can confuse fluid regulation. The body responds by holding onto water just in case, especially when stress hormones are active. This is why bloating and puffiness can fluctuate day to day without a clear pattern. Symptoms women commonly experience. When aldosterone is overactive, women often notice bloating or water retention, swelling in hands, feet, or face, sensitivity to salt, head pressure or headaches, feeling tight or heavy by evening, blood pressure fluctuations. These symptoms are hormonal signals, not random body behavior. Why aldosterone issues are rarely explained. Aldosterone is rarely discussed outside of medical textbooks. Because symptoms overlap with common complaints, women are often told to reduce salt, drink more water, or accept fluid changes as normal. What's usually missing is the explanation that stress hormones are directing fluid behavior, not just diet alone. Doctor-approved ways to support aldosterone naturally. Supporting aldosterone starts with reducing stress signals and improving balance. Helpful support includes consistent hydration throughout the day, balanced mineral intake from whole foods, regular meals to stabilize adrenal signaling, gentle movement to improve circulation, stress reduction practices that calm the nervous system. These signals help aldosterone return to its normal rhythm. Aldosterone quietly controls fluid balance, swelling, and pressure, especially under stress. After 30, chronic stress and hormonal shifts can keep aldosterone overactive, causing bloating and heaviness that feel confusing. When stress signals are reduced and daily rhythms are supported, aldosterone becomes less reactive, and the body can release excess fluid naturally. How cortisol and aldosterone work together to shape daily symptoms. When many small symptoms start showing up at once, you may feel tired and wired, bloated and tense, anxious yet heavy. Your body feels inflamed, your mood feels reactive, and rest doesn't feel refreshing. These symptoms can seem unrelated, but very often they're driven by cortisol and aldosterone working together, quietly shaping how your body responds to daily life. Why these two hormones act as a team. Cortisol and aldosterone are both produced by the adrenal glands and are activated during stress. Cortisol prepares the body for action by increasing alertness and raising blood sugar. Aldosterone supports that response by helping the body hold on to fluid and sodium to maintain circulation and blood pressure. When stress is short-lived, this teamwork is helpful. When stress becomes chronic, the partnership stays active too long. The body remains in a state of readiness even when no immediate threat exists. In simple terms, cortisol increases demand and aldosterone protects supply. How chronic stress changes body behavior. When cortisol stays elevated, the body believes it must stay alert. Digestion slows, repair processes are postponed, sleep becomes lighter. At the same time, aldosterone encourages the body to retain water and sodium to support this alert state. This combination creates a feeling many women describe as inflamed or puffy, paired with mental tension. The body feels full, tight, and reactive, not relaxed or flexible. After 30, hormonal buffering from estrogen and progesterone becomes less reliable, which makes this stress hormone pairing feel stronger and more persistent. Why fat and water are held at the same time. Cortisol influences how and where fat is stored, especially around the abdomen. Aldosterone influences how much fluid is retained in tissues. When both hormones are elevated, the body holds energy and water simultaneously. This is why women may feel heavier or swollen without changes in eating habits. The body isn't gaining randomly, it's responding to stress signals that tell it to conserve resources. This response is protective, not dysfunctional. Effects on mood, sleep, and energy. Cortisol increases alertness, but when it doesn't turn off, it leads to emotional reactivity and difficulty calming down. Aldosterone's fluid-retaining effects can increase physical discomfort, which further stresses the nervous system. Together, these hormones can cause light or restless sleep, morning fatigue despite adequate rest, anxiety or irritability, difficulty relaxing physically or mentally, digestive sluggishness, fluctuating energy levels. These symptoms often feed into each other, creating a cycle that feels hard to break. Why women 30 to 45 feel sensitive to everything. As hormonal balance shifts after 30, the body becomes more sensitive to stressors like poor sleep, skipped meals, dehydration, and emotional overload. Cortisol rises faster. Aldosterone responds more strongly. What once felt manageable now feels amplified. This sensitivity isn't weakness, it's a sign that the body's stress response is being triggered more often and taking longer to settle. Lifestyle factors that worsen the cortisol-aldosterone loop. Certain daily patterns keep these hormones activated. Inconsistent sleep schedules, irregular meals or underfueling, dehydration followed by sudden fluid intake, excessive caffeine, high-intensity exercise without recovery, constant mental stimulation. These signals tell the body to stay prepared rather than relaxed. Doctor-approved ways to calm the pairing. Supporting cortisol and aldosterone together means focusing on rhythm and recovery. Helpful support includes predictable sleep and wake times, regular meals to stabilize blood sugar, consistent hydration across the day, gentle movement to improve circulation, daily pauses that calm the nervous system. These habits reduce the need for constant stress hormone activation. Cortisol and aldosterone work together to manage stress, energy, and fluid balance. When they stay elevated, the body holds fat, water, and tension at the same time. After 30, this partnership becomes more noticeable, not because your body is failing, but because it's protecting itself. When stress signals decrease and daily rhythms stabilize, these hormones naturally become quieter, and many daily symptoms begin to ease together. Why stress hormone imbalance is often missed in women. When you're told everything looks normal, but you don't feel normal, you go for checkups, blood work comes back fine. You're told to manage stress, sleep more, or accept that this is part of aging, yet your body still feels inflamed, reactive, swollen, and exhausted. For many women, this gap between normal tests and real symptoms is where stress hormone imbalance quietly hides. Why standard tests don't tell the full story. Cortisol and aldosterone don't behave like static hormones. They follow daily rhythms, rising and falling in response to stress, sleep, hydration, and emotional load. Most tests capture a single moment in time. They don't show how long cortisol stays elevated, how often aldosterone is activated, whether these hormones are shutting off properly. This means stress hormone dysregulation can exist even when lab values fall within normal ranges. The issue is not always how much hormone is present, but how often and how long it's being used. Why women's stress symptoms are often dismissed. Many symptoms of stress hormone imbalance overlap with common complaints: fatigue, bloating, mood changes, poor sleep, weight changes. Because these are so common, they're often attributed to lifestyle, aging, or emotional sensitivity. Women are frequently encouraged to push through, adjust expectations, or try harder, without addressing the hormonal drivers underneath. This can lead women to doubt their own experience, even when their body is clearly signaling imbalance. How chronic low-grade stress changes hormones. Quietly. Stress hormone imbalance doesn't always come from major life events. It often builds from constant low-grade stress, always being on, mental multitasking, emotional responsibility, lack of true rest, irregular routines. The body responds to this ongoing pressure by keeping cortisol and aldosterone slightly elevated all the time. This state is subtle, but over months and years, it reshapes metabolism, fluid balance, sleep quality, and emotional resilience. Because there's no single dramatic trigger, the connection is easy to miss. Why women 30 to 45 are especially vulnerable. After 30, hormonal buffering from estrogen and progesterone becomes less consistent. These hormones normally help soften stress responses. When they fluctuate, cortisol and aldosterone become more dominant. At the same time, recovery capacity decreases. Poor sleep affects hormones more strongly. Missed meals trigger bigger stress responses. Dehydration has a greater impact on fluid regulation. This combination makes stress hormone imbalance more noticeable and more uncomfortable during this life stage. Common mislabels that hide the real issue. Many women are told their symptoms are due to aging, anxiety, poor habits, weight changes, sensitivity, or overthinking. While these labels may describe how symptoms look on the surface, they don't explain why they're happening. Without understanding the hormonal layer, solutions often feel ineffective or temporary. Why validation matters for hormonal healing. When symptoms are dismissed, stress increases further. This raises cortisol again, reinforcing the cycle. Understanding that stress hormones are involved helps remove self-blame. Validation itself is calming to the nervous system. When the body feels heard instead of judged, stress hormones begin to settle. Stress hormone imbalance is often missed because it develops quietly and doesn't always show up on standard tests. For women after 30, fluctuating sex hormones and reduced recovery make cortisol and aldosterone more influential. Your symptoms are not imagined or exaggerated, they are real biological signals that deserve understanding, not dismissal. Your daily stress hormone reset routine. Understanding cortisol and aldosterone explains why your body feels the way it does. What helps next is creating a daily rhythm that tells these stress hormones they no longer need to stay on high alert. This routine is not about eliminating stress. It's about giving your body consistent signals of safety, balance, and recovery. Morning calm the first cortisol spike. Cortisol naturally rises in the morning to help you wake up. Problems start when this rise turns into a spike. Rushed mornings, skipped meals, and immediate mental pressure tell the body that danger or urgency is present. A hormone-friendly morning starts with consistency. Waking at a similar time each day helps cortisol follow a predictable pattern instead of overreacting. Eating something nourishing within the first hour supports blood sugar, which prevents cortisol from rising excessively. Keeping early mornings calmer, even briefly, sets a steadier tone for both cortisol and aldosterone. Afternoon, prevent the second stress surge. Many women feel more swollen, tense, or emotionally reactive later in the day. This is often when cortisol rises again due to fatigue and mental overload. Short pauses help interrupt this surge. Stepping away from screens, lowering stimulation, or taking a few quiet minutes allows the nervous system to reset. These moments reduce the need for aldosterone to hold onto fluid and help cortisol begin settling instead of climbing. Protecting energy here prevents symptoms from building into the evening. Evening, signal release, not readiness. Evenings should tell your body that it's safe to let go. Bright lights, late meals, emotional conversations, and constant stimulation keep stress hormones active. Dimming lights, slowing movement, and creating predictable evening routines help cortisol fall naturally. This also reduces aldosterone's signal to retain fluid overnight. Calmer evenings often lead to less morning puffiness and better sleep quality. Sleep where stress hormones reset. Sleep is when cortisol and aldosterone should be at their lowest. Inconsistent sleep keeps both hormones active longer than they should be. Protecting sleep timing and quality is one of the most effective ways to reset stress hormones. Even small improvements here create noticeable changes in swelling, mood, and energy. Stress hormones respond best to rhythm, not force. When mornings are steady, days are nourished and hydrated, evenings are calm, and sleep is protected, cortisol and aldosterone no longer need to control everything. Over time, your body shifts from constant protection back toward balance, and many daily symptoms begin to ease together. Conclusion. If your body has been feeling tense, swollen, reactive, or constantly tired, it's important to know this. Your symptoms aren't random. Cortisol and aldosterone quietly influence how your body handles stress, fluid, energy, and recovery, especially after 30. When these hormones stay active for too long, the body shifts into protection mode, not because something is wrong, but because it's trying to cope. Understanding stress hormones removes self-blame and replaces it with clarity. Small daily habits create powerful hormonal shifts. When you support your body instead of fighting it, balance becomes possible again. Disclaimer: educational only, not medical advice. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share with every woman you think needs to hear this. Thank you for watching.